All righty, let's do this. I'm Joshua Lisec, and I'm here with Beverlee Rasmussen, author of the fantastic Small Business a Big Opportunity, the systems business book for business systems. I'm joined here with Beverlee to tell the whole story behind the creation of the book. Beverlee, how's it going?
It's going awesome. Yeah, it's a great day today. The book just on Amazon.com went to top new release, and it's just been an exciting ride. Last week, three days ago when I released it, it went #1 in all categories on Amazon.ca. So totally a dream come true. Yeah, thanks, Josh.
Wonderful. I'm so stoked to have been part of this journey. Could you tell people in a few sentences, what is this book about? Small business, big opportunity? How is that a business systems book? What's going on there?
Yeah, the subtitle: Systematize Your Business, Create Personal Freedom, and Live the Entrepreneurial Dream. A lot of business owners, business ownership seems really lucrative and it looks like a lot of fun, and a lot of people get into it. But the fact is, 51% are going to fail in the first 5 years. Those statistics are, universal across around the world, and I'm not okay with that number. And so, it's been my entire academic and professional career focused on reducing the failure rate of small businesses. And so, yes, small business, big opportunity. Without the systems, you're more likely in that category that's not going to make it.
Gotcha. So the point of the big opportunity is twofold. Number one, it's a big opportunity to systematize so many aspects of your business, particularly chapter 4, which is my favorite chapter, all about the financial systems inside of a business that's beyond bookkeeping and do we have enough revenue to cover our expenses and what about taxes? But there's an entire profession of business accounting, and all of those systems in a way that a small business owner can understand are inside chapter 4. So that's my favorite. And then, of course, there's a big opportunity to grow your small business into something bigger by having these systems.
Mm-hmm. And I think the first thing to look at is, what is a system? And I distilled it down to a very simple thing. A system is simply the way something happens. And so it makes it now easy for a small business owner to say, how are things happening? If it's working for you, great, write that down. Do that over and over again, improvement. If it's not working for you, then you have a missing or broken system. And it's an opportunity to look at that and see how you can, shift it up and change it. Especially things that are hurting your reputation, costing you money, or things that you don't know how to do. And then it leaves you really vulnerable with those issues going on in your company.
And unlike many people who author business systems books, you actually have been a business owner and you successfully exited. Unlike a business coach whose sole business is business coach. That's the only business they've ever owned in many cases. So you transitioned into business coaching after you had lived the dream and exited successfully. And what was it about your journey from startup entrepreneur to having a successful exit? How does someone go from doing that to business coaching? What was the impetus there?
Yeah, I like the question. The original story is I was a single mom. Joe was kicked out of a number of daycares. I was struggling to find a safe place for him, and really, my only option was to have my own business. So, like a lot of small business owners, it's just sort of happened. I landed in there, and I knew I was a great travel agent, but I didn't have the first clue about business. So there's the beginning of the systems. I took a course here in Canada. We have the Federal Business Development Bank, and kind of got onto this idea of systems and thought about it right from the beginning. And it took about 18 months to fully systematize the business so that I could get it running independent of me. Because for me as a single mom, failure was not an option. I had my house on the line. I had a kid to feed. And I got the business completely systematized. And I think from that transition point, if I look back in 1997, the airlines took away our revenue. We lost 70% of our revenue in one day. Like just absorb that, small business owner, for 1 minute. 39% of all agencies in the United States went out of business. And so it was tough times in the industry. And because we had systems in place and financial systems, go back to chapter 4, we knew how things were doing. We switched to fee-based pay. We knew it was coming. It was a fact. There was nothing we could do about it. Switched on the day of the transition. And then I went around to all the other travel agents and help them switch as well. So I took my brochure. These are my prices. This is what I'm doing. Copy it, steal it. I don't care. Because if you go out of business, we're all going out of business. All the agencies would disappear. And it's pretty close to what happened. We eventually all moved online, which is great. So looking back, I think I was asked after I sold the business, what did you love most about that experience if it wasn't travel? it was like building, running, and selling the business, which and then looking at my peers struggling, suffering, they didn't have to, struggling with this sort of like chaotic environments. And so started coaching in 2008, I think the first time, actually consulting, telling people what to do. And then I learned pretty quickly people don't respond very well to being told what to do. So I did a little bit more research and ended up getting a graduate certificate in executive coaching so I could learn how to engage with another person in a way that would be helpful to them using the neuroscience of coaching. And how do you move someone from where they are to where they want to be in a way that's healthy and whole for the practice. So I have a foot in consulting and a foot in coaching, and have bridged that gap.
And that gap bridging ultimately resulted in your creation of Systems Business Coach and this field guide, this behemoth of a workbook that you have as your coaching. And you can, as those watching can see, there's a lot of actual like homework stuff. So it's fantastic as a coaching manual. There's not particularly anything like this for being a coaching client. Most business coaches will sit down and, okay, here's the method I got trained from somebody else. I learned how to do it, some questions I learned how to ask. But this is the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And it was when you already had this, you already had your business, Systems Business Coach, that you and I first began the conversation. Now, I haven't actually asked you this. I don't think, a few years later after we began talking, there's a small business field guide you have here. Why did you personally, your business coach, Systems Business Coach company, why did you need a book, like a general trade, industry standard nonfiction book?
My story. Why did I need to write my story? Is that, yeah, versus the field guide. I know I'm completely opposite most authors. Most authors write their book first, and then they create the field guide. So I guess the question, you have a field guide, it's out there, it's everything. It's really interesting. So one of my mentors, Jim Horan, who was the author of and founder of the One Page Business Plan, he's a mentor of mine, and we just had a lot of fun. He was a creator, I was a creator. We both really care about small business owners. And sadly, he passed away in 2019. But at our very last meeting, he said to me, Beverlee needs you two things. You need to digitize your material, and you need to write your book, and you need to tell your story because it's important. And the thought of writing the book at that point, it took 12,000 hours to write the field guide, 10 plus years. I have a writing disability, and so it's called dysgraphia. So I can write. I know what I need to do. It just takes me a long time. So it's a huge effort. I learned that when I was doing my second graduate certificate. It was taking me like 40 hours to write a 1,200 word essay. And I was like, okay, something's going on here. And I was actually glad for that moment to realize, okay, it's not me. I'm not stupid. In fact, I'm incredibly gifted, smart. I've got things to say. It's just because I can't, synthesize them on the paper the way they need to. So yeah, the field guide. So the idea of another 12 years writing another book, I'm like, no, I need to hire someone that knows how to write and that can really write what I'm thinking and in my voice. And so that's the experience that I had with you. And wow, I'm just thrilled. Yeah.
What about the experience working with me was so thrilling?
I think right from the beginning, just the calm demeanor of we're going to do this. And then, we talked about a number of chapters. We kind of talked about, and just you got me right away. You have that sense of where I was coming from. You knew the value of what I was bringing to the market. And then we just started, and it was like, Christmas. Every time I get a chapter back, we'd have a conversation. I know you're recording it. You have the field guide, the essence of the story, like the story of Mr. V. And I felt like you were right there with me in the room, with this, executive, and just every step of the way. When I got the words back, I'm like, those are my words exactly. So it was a thrilling experience. It was addictive. I just couldn't wait to get through it every chapter.
That's so much fun. So a lot of times people who want to write a book are concerned that anyone that they partner with in any capacity, be it a ghostwriter or an editor or anyone who is affecting what they say, is going to change it. It's not going to sound like them. I had a high profile interview turned argument last week with somebody who said anyone who does not write literally every word themselves is not a real author. They are liars. It was a bit of a messy conversation. And in my experience, that's not the case. Like with your book, it's your stories, your words, your ideas, your experiences, and in some case, literally your words, because I had this to work from, the field guide. And what my job was to, and like I said here, there was a lot that is exercise. It's not like we could repurpose this content on this page of an exercise into a book. So there was a lot of both summarizing and expanding. We had so many conversations over many months to get those stories out. And there were also, oh, Joshua, I remember this. You know, so you send me emails. Can you also talk about this? You would have these strokes of genius that would come, and you send me an email. Okay, we'll work something in there. It was quite fun for me too, and educational, because I had previously worked at a company that valued business systems above everything else, and realized that if you have systems in place, you can bring in people who have no experience in your industry, and they can perform like industry veterans, seasoned professionals very quickly. And yet it seems as though your book is the first business systems book to understand, to comprehend the scope of what a system can do for a business, and then look at a system for everything. If I can continue pitching your book for a little bit here, Beverlee.
I appreciate it.
So many books, they're focused on one type of system. So there's books that are about, let's say, time management systems, productivity systems, performance systems. Just generally speaking, you should really create standard operating procedures. There are some books, wink, wink, that you and I both know of that spend 285 pages saying you should have systems. And it's just that sentiment every page. And then people who work with such authors, certified coaches, get the same thing. You should have systems. Okay, well, what, how, where? What do I do? And the cool thing about Small Business Big Opportunity is the book tells business owners exactly what systems, how to set them up, in what order to set them up, and my favorite part of all, story after story after story of clients of yours who have actually implemented your systems.
Yeah.
Because the best way to learn is by well, the best way to learn is doing something yourself. The next best way is to watch someone else do it, which is a real cool aspect of your book.
Yeah, you get this, you need to work, on your business, not just in your business. Great, but what do I do? And you need to systematize your business. But how do I do that? It's completely, absolutely overwhelming. So you start at the beginning. And so that's where the book starts. And the book starts with the story of the beginning, and a few of the things that we talked again about the financial chapter, some financial reporting systems that almost lost me the agency. And so just putting those pieces in place. The clients I work with that, just neglect tax systems, some basic systems, when the government can come in and close down the freeze accounts, things that we don't share those stories. Business owners, on the surface, they're expected to be the boss. They're expected to know it all. They're supposed to be in charge. They're expected to be in charge. But behind the scenes, they're terrified to hire. Without a hiring system, it's like dating without a plan. And so that's, really the book is a gift to small business owners, and a responsibility of mine. I felt like I felt like I was responsible to get that book out in the world.
And it has turned out well. And I want to reiterate how comprehensive this book, Small Business Big Opportunity, is, because when I interact with business owners or entrepreneurs about systems, their thinking is, operation systems, like how we build the product, how we deliver the service, hiring subcontractors or contractors to come in and deliver the service and make sure to do all the steps right. No. The systems include such things that are important as marketing. There's marketing systems. It's not just, being popular or getting referrals. Selling, it's not just, being persuasive. And you talk about systems for marketing, systems for sales, systems for selling the company if you want to, even systems for setting up your company so that you can sell it. Truly a comprehensive book. So when we think about who it's for, a better question is, who is it not for? Because every business owner, they want more leads, they want better leads, they want to be able to charge better prices, have faster closing, And then it's the stuff about like, oh, time management, productivity, and operations improvement. That stuff. That stuff's later. But what's cool about this book is everything is in here that you need.
Well, think about what we need as human beings is to protect our reputation. So there's a chapter on service, because most business owners say, well, I'll ask them, where do you get most of your business from? And they'll say word of mouth. But if the service standards aren't there, those systems aren't in place so that the client is getting that kind of consistency. And sometimes we don't think about that. We hire someone and we don't have a training system. There's a chapter on training. And so that, that all these things are fundamentally connected. If I may show the game board, this is the document that I started off with in 2012, and literally drew it on a napkin and then had a designer do the original one. And I haven't changed many of the things on the board. So in the middle are all your leadership systems. You think leadership is a system, knowing your core values, having a company promise, a rally cry for your whole team, having a system for change in the organization, a communication system. All those elements are important. And then, to your point about systems, there's 52 competencies that I've identified for a small business. Let me see if I can hold it up there. Yes. And then in operations, right here where my finger is, you'll notice that systems is only one of the 52 competencies. So that's the point. There's your system for your systems. So this is your operations manual. This is how to write it down. This is how to think. What is the system? How it applies? But there's service systems, like you said, management systems, supply systems. How do you deal with your suppliers? Is it your friends of friends? You've dealt with that supplier for a long time. If you don't have a system in place to check to see if that supplier is ripping you off or not, if you're actually getting a good deal. Look at all the big, let's say the phone companies and stuff. You're a client now, and you got in at a really good deal, but down the road, new clients are getting a better deal. So as a small business owner with margins tight, with inflation and all the things that are going on in the world, you need systems for those things so that you can be, I like to use the word, organized and profitable, because there's nothing wrong with being profitable if you own a small business.
Wonderful. Is there a way that you recommend people read the book? Because it is comprehensive. So each chapter is a set of systems. What's the best way to read the book and implement it?
Yeah, it's interesting because I got a little bit of flack, but I love this. So the table of contents is actually has a very cool summary of which is included in each of those summaries. It's not your typical table of contents. It's a little tricky putting it on Amazon, but we got it figured out. So you can go through here, and if you're dealing with employees, go to chapter 10, read that little short verse, and see if that's the best place to go. So it's not a beginning, middle, or end. There's some, I don't know, I'm quite fond of the E-type personality near to the end of the book, that really celebrates the entrepreneur. The E for entrepreneur, so distracted, daring, courageous, risk-taking, just to know, I think it really described really well who we are as entrepreneurs, and that we are a little bit different than, maybe a A+ student that goes and gets an accounting job and sits in a cubicle for their entire career and gets a gold watch and leaves. So I think part of that also is celebrating that. So yeah, that's I think that's would be way. And read my story. It's the first story. Read the story about Andrew. I went into his office and really just that first coaching conversation really turned things around and gave him hope. Because at the end of the day, when you're drowning in all the things you have to do, your employees and your leases and your pricing and your customers and your suppliers and, like you said, marketing and trying to get all these things done, when you're in the middle of all that, the putting systems in place gives you hope that you can run a business that you're proud of, and hope that you can have a business that's profitable. And it removes the despair and replaces it with hope.
Yes. And so that's what not just the opening chapter does, but the entire book. And I like this reading method where you can get a little bit of a one paragraph preview of each chapter, those of you who are reading it. And let's say you're really concerned about lead generation right now. Okay, go look at the marketing and go look at the sales chapter on specifically marketing systems. And if you ask them, what's your marketing system right now? Oh, word of mouth. Maybe we'll get people from wherever. And that's not really a system. That's just, well, it's worked enough in the past. So that's what we just count on. That's not a system, right? It's the same way with, imagine if that mindset was applied to hiring. What's your hiring system? oh, just people show up and, if we kind of get a good feeling about them, we hire them. What? Systems thinking can be applied to all of these measures, folks.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now that you're the published author of the field guide and the general trade book that's got your story and both summarizes and expands the field guide, the workbook, what's next for you as system business coach, creator, and author of Small Business Big Opportunity?
That's before we did this, I had I was working as a coach. I had a 2-year waiting list almost for 5 years. So I started shifting to, and was the catalyst to finish the field guide, because I wanted other people to be able to do what I do. So I train people, that are sincerely want to help small business owner. I'll teach them everything that I know about how to coach a small business owner. So I spent the time doing that. So I'm imagining, hundreds of thousands of coaches around the world. I just wrote my master's paper on the democratization of small business coaching, because I realized that there's a lot of help for bigger businesses. There's a lot of help for startups, but there's not a lot of help for, a small business owner, sort of years 3 through 8. Those are the tumultuous years. And, like we talked about earlier, there's a lot of market programs out there that are out there to take the small business owners' money, because those are desperate years. So I wanted to put something in the market that offered real help. So so that's primarily what I've been focusing on. So I guess the next book, I've written 5,000 coaching questions to go with this. And I need the how to coach small business owners. I've got the effective business coaching model. I've got all the elements of the next book here. That'll probably take us a day or 2 to whip it up. What do you think, Joshua?
Yeah, there too. Yes, as well as we know each other now, most likely. That's not an exaggeration, people. That is not exaggeration. Well, Beverlee, thank you so much for joining me and sharing a little bit about the story, the background. It's so cool to see this book out now and done. I'm stoked for you.
Thank you. There you go.
Yes. Thumbs up for me as well. Thank you again, Beverlee. All the best on authorship.
Thank you, Joshua. Be in touch. Appreciate it.